Sunrise Semester. WCBS TV, in cooperation with New York University, presents English C81.1 with Professor David H. Green. This morning, Professor Green concludes his lectures on Ulysses. Sunrise Semester is presented by the WCBS TV Public Affairs Department.
For the book lists for the Sunrise Semester courses, please write to Sunrise Semester, New York University, New York, New York, 10003. This program was recorded.
Let's get out of here.
This is the 500th video on the channel. Thanks to all of you who've been along for the ride and who've just recently joined on it. Let's get into it. The images themselves are indistinct, but the thing itself is not. Lost media has become a very popular topic on the internet. It has always interested scholars and historians, but now everyday people whose memories are ever more linked with every kind of media ephemera in our media-saturated world have taken an almost obsessive interest in it. Odd or even sad as it may seem, media is often our memories. Is some old commercial that we took for granted at the time when we were younger all that important in the grand scheme of things? And why does it bother us so when such things seem lost forever? And even more so, why is it worse when nobody else seems to remember it? This video is about lost media, about something I saw on television many times more than 50 years ago as a young child. Something that appears to be completely lost, totally forgotten, and nowhere to be found or mentioned anywhere on the internet. Yet it was something that possibly millions of people saw, but the collective memory of it has vanished. It's around 1969 or 1970. It's early, about 6 a.m. on an average weekday in America. You're a kid of the baby boom era, getting up and getting ready for kindergarten or for school. You turn on the TV and see the inert test pattern screen, hoping you might catch a cartoon or something interesting to watch before leaving for the bus. But usually it's just some boring lecture show like Sunrise Semester. Then it comes on, that weird PSA, a public service announcement. You called them commercials back then because it was on during the breaks. It came on once a morning, typically, and it was probably on CBS. It's animated, a cartoon PSA. You're watching it on a black and white TV most likely, so you don't know if the PSA is in color or not. A lone cowboy is shown riding along on a horse. The cowboy and maybe even the horse too are scared. He, the cowboy, is whistling nervously, possibly. The horse and rider are alone in a vast valley, worried, on alert for something. Bandits maybe. And sure enough, bandits come. They rob the man, then, with a shocking suddenness, they shoot him dead. The head bandit says very clearly and distinctly, "Let's get out of here." And the band of about 3 robbers ride off to the horizon on their horses. You can hear the sound of the hoofs trailing off. The dead man is just lying there, motionless. The camera pulls back from the scene and some writing appears on the screen showing the religious organization that sponsored the PSA. A voice of God narrator off screen says something, a piece of scripture maybe, or a moral lesson of some kind. The words are lost in the mists of time. As a young kid, this PSA scared the crap out of me. It disturbed me. It made me feel a weird sense of hopelessness. It maybe even scarred me a little bit for life. I have never forgotten it. 50 plus years later, I remember it, and my bewildered young reaction to it. It aired every morning, it seemed like, for years, possibly to millions of viewers over time. And yet, when you ask around, trying to find anyone else who might have remembered it, you hit a wall of silence. Nobody saw it, it seems, except me. I've scoured the collections and compilations of vintage PSAs on YouTube and on the Internet Archive, tried every search term I can think of on Google or on Reddit to try to find any mention of this PSA, and I always come up frustratingly empty. If the PSA is out there, I have not found it yet. Maybe it's in plain sight, in a video somewhere, but so far, nothing. It's lost media. For me, the Dead Cowboy PSA, as I'm choosing to call it, is the holy grail of lost media. A grail that nobody else seems to be pursuing. It's a lonely quest. When I post about this subject in comment sections and in communities online, I get nothing but crickets. Boomer media, it seems, has little relevance to 90s or later kids who seem to be looking for lost media from places like Nickelodeon and the Cartoon Network and such. Now, if you've ever seen an anti-smoking PSA from the 1960s called Johnny Smoke, you can get some idea of the illustration style of the Dead Cowboy PSA. When I look at this, I get a similar vibe. The PSA was similar enough to spark my recognition. The creepy vibe is certainly similar, but are they the same? Am I experiencing a Mandela effect? A conflation with something else, perhaps? No. The ad I'm seeking had the distinct piece of dialogue, "Let's get out of here," which this film does not. But the style is strikingly evocative. It does spark recognition. What was the aim of this PSA? That life is short? That violence is sudden and random? That we should do unto others the golden rule? For a kid raised in a time when justice prevailed, or so we thought, the prospect of sudden, irrational death was a shock to the system, an early glimpse and realization of mortality. You might just go out one day and end up dead on the ground, a strange thing to have on the air when countless kids were getting ready for school. Oddly, it might be more relevant today. What became of this PSA? Do you remember it? If so, leave a comment. Share what you remember about it. Surely I am not the only one. Thanks for watching.